What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
It's time!
Welcome back to another Tuesday night episode of Tech Q&A with yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph, where we are engineered to win. Yes, we are. That is what we're doing. We are here tonight. I have answers to your questions. If you want to, you can drop your questions in the chat, as well as, you know what, let me open up the call-in window as well. So in case you want to call in, you do not have to be on camera, but you can call in, you can ask your questions, and I can do my best to answer it for you. We can have a conversation. All right. So the link is pinned to the top of the chat in case you do want to call in, and we can talk. And, you know, your voice will be on air, but your video will not be. So feel free to call in if you want to have a conversation. All right. So let's get to our agenda for tonight. You know how we do. We are going to have some questions, but first, let's take care of some housekeeping, of course. Let's see here. All right. So before we do anything, I want to share this with you because it's coming up quickly. In 2 days, Thursday, April 4th, I am going to be hosting a QA meetup, an online QA meetup. We're going to be meeting on Google Meet, and we're going to, just talk about different QA things. So let me share the screen real quick with you. You know, I don't normally share the screens on Tuesday nights, but this is important. I want to share it with you, and I would love to see you there. So, QA Connect, uniting minds in quality assurance with Tech Coach Ralph, with me. So, pretty much it's on April 4th, Thursday, April 4th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then I'm going to go live a little bit after that. We're going to be getting into API testing. I'll touch on that a little bit more later. But this event is going to be online on Google Meet, like I said. And we are going to be talking about sharing some experiences for whoever wants to share their current experiences, whether they are currently in QA, they've been in there for a while, maybe they are trying to transition into QA, or maybe they are in between QA jobs, or maybe they want to transition into QA, or they want to transition out of QA to maybe some type of software dev. Who knows? Whatever the case may be, would love to hear from you and maybe offer some insight. Then we can also talk about some tools that we're using. I know I use tons of tools at my company, from Terraform to different Python packages, so many different things that we can talk about. And then we can also talk about some navigating challenges that you may face in QA. So I just would love to hear from you. And then lastly, some ideas for networking. We have an hour to talk, so let's make the most of it. Maybe we can dedicate 15 minutes to each segment. We shall see. But I would love to interact with you. So definitely sign up to be on this call on this Google Meet, and I'm going to drop the chat. I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and it'll be cycling throughout the night as well. So I would love to talk to you guys one on one. And I have a double take in the chat already. You know what? Let's I got I have operate I gotta go to full screen for this. I have Operation Tech Takeover, says my brother, peace and blessings. And I got Mitch, the number one co-host, chat co-host, that is.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you both. Mitch says, I just looked in the sky and saw the MM light shining. So I'm here. Batman is alive. That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. Where's it?
We the best.
Yes, we are. And Operation Techtober says he's still at work. Woo, man. I think you're in Central Time, right? Tech Takeover. So it's like 6:44 for you right now. Man, that's a long day. That's like you be driving to work at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's 6:44 at night, and you're still there. So salute to you. Hats off to you. You know what?
Let's get it.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. So let's continue with our agenda. So next up, I want to say thank you so much to all of the newest subscribers, as well as those who have been subscribed for a very long time. We are growing. We're growing. We are on our track to where are we almost at? We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. Yes, we are. So let's just keep moving forward. Let's just keep winning, and let's keep going. You know, there's nothing else, right? We're just gonna keep winning. So let's see. All right, let's go over to, and I think I just saw some disturbing news from Tech Takeover. I'm gonna read it in a second, but so also a big shout out to all of my tech barbarians who are constantly putting in the work. I have a tech barbarian who is working relentlessly to learn about Docker and learn about Git branching and GitHub and stuff like that, doing absolutely amazing. So I just want to say a big shout out, and if you are watching, keep up the great, amazing work. But wait, there's more. I have another tech barbarian who is, I plugged them in with a startup and they are just killing it. So shout out to all of my tech barbarians who work so hard every single day from sun up to sundown, and then throughout the night putting in the work. I am so proud of you guys. So keep up the good work, all right? Keep up the good work. All right, let's jump into our live show schedule, and then we're going to get into our pre-recorded show content, and then we're going to get to the show. So live show schedule. Sunday afternoons, software explorations. This past Sunday, we worked on Open Devon, but we are going back to Terraform this coming Sunday. So we don't miss every single Sunday. We are here unless I am like physically unable to work on the computer, but we're here. We don't miss, all right? We do not miss. Tuesday nights, Q&A nights. Like tonight, we are going to be answering a series of questions to give you some insight into the way that I see things. And I think if you were to adopt some of my mindset, it might help you in the field, whether you're already here or trying to transition. You might not agree, but just look at the results and we'll go from there. Okay. Thursday nights, we have software explorations where we're focusing on automation. So this coming Thursday, it's going to be a special one because we are moving on from the automation work that we were doing on free mind recovery, and we are getting into APIs. What? Did you say APIs? Yes, I said APIs. We're going to be playing around with APIs. We're going to be testing APIs. We're going to be automating APIs. We're even going to look into GraphQL. Over the next coming Thursday nights, we're going to be dedicating it to APIs. eyes. I know. I would be excited too if I were you. All right. So, lastly, we have the morning shows, Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:15. Although the past 2 Mondays, I have started a little bit later because I wanted to hang out with my guys over at the Techniques Tips channel. And if you are not subscribed to Techniques Tips, I would highly, highly recommend you do so. They are Trey and Joseph over there, amazing, amazing content creators, sharing their experience in the tech sales role. So highly recommend. Like that's where I met Mitch and Operation Tech Takeover. So and you see how awesome both of them are. So go over and check out Technique Tips. All right. So, but I'm still leaving it on schedule. Mondays and Wednesdays, between 7:15 and 7:45 a.m. we get started. And we do coffee and kata, where we review some news articles, and then we do our Flutter mobile development. We are building our app. And Mitch, I've been thinking about, do I have any capacity to keep working on the Flutter stuff? Because I don't think the mornings is enough. So I'm looking into it to see if I can put any more time on the schedule so I can get a little bit more work done, because I do want to publish those apps to the mobile store, to the app stores. But that's between you and me. Don't tell anybody that I said that, because I'm still trying to figure out the schedule so we can get a little bit more work done. What more can I give? We'll see. All right. So one more time, Sunday afternoons, software explorations. We're working on Terraform. Tuesday nights, we have our Q&A nights, just like tonight. Thursday night, software explorations. We are moving on to API testing. And then the morning shows, Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:15 a.m. Eastern time, coffee and kata, where we do news and we do our Flutter mobile development. All right. So that is our live. Clap it up for the live shows. Clap it up for the live shows. I have so much fun on the live shows. I feed off your energy, but sometimes I feed off my own energy as well. So we just do what we have to do. All right. Let's get into our pre-recorded content. So Mondays we have candid conversations. Yesterday's candid conversation, it might have some people in their feelings, but I called it more complaining, more losing. I'm sorry, but we could also call it less complaining, less losing, or less complaining, more winning. So many different names, but it is what it is. Sometimes people complain too much and then they get upset about their results. So just go check it out. Go check out the candid conversations from yesterday. And on Mondays, we have candid conversations. Wednesdays, we have software explorations, concepts and overviews. Tomorrow's software exploration is going to be about APIs, getting a introduction to APIs so it can set us up on our way for the next coming weeks. And then Fridays, we have the bug bite. This coming Friday, we're going to be talking about, can the federal government demand, yes, I said demand, social media platforms to your watch history? Can they prosecute you, or can they persecute you based off what you watch on YouTube? We shall find out. And then throughout the week, we have shorts and additional clips from the Q&A show. We clip up the Q&A show to make it in bite-sized, digestible pieces so that you can go along about your day. All right. So something here for everyone every single day of the week. One more time, let me run through the pre-records. It's Mondays, candid conversations. Wednesdays, software explorations, concept and overviews. Fridays, the bug bite. And then throughout the week, we have shorts as well as clips from the Q&A show. All right. So the show that you see tonight, in a few months or a few weeks or at some point, you're going to see them and they're going to be clipped up. So something for you to enjoy. All right. All right. So before we even do that, let me check the chat again to see what we got going on. All right. So Tecto, you're in Eastern time? I thought you were in Central. So Kentucky is, oh man, I get so confused with these time zones. I thought for sure you'd be Central time. So if you're Eastern time, that means like you're on your way to work around 7 a.m. and then it's like almost 8 p.m. and you're still at work. Oh my goodness, this is whew. And Ralph is like, Mitch is insane. Um, no, because I think I might be a little bit more insane, so it wouldn't make sense for me to call you insane. So, it is what it is. And Tech Takeover says new EHR system and having to get this patient in. Okay, yeah. So Tech Takeover is in the healthcare industry. So yeah, and throughout the chat, I just show this up once, but I have the app that my tech barbarians are working on. So a little MVP, and it is a quotes app. So check it out. I mean, I've showed it before, but it has a new domain. Check it out, and you can definitely leave some feedback, and we'll go from there. All right. So, all right. Let's see what else. And Tech Takeover says yes because Tech Coach Ross mindset is that of a savage, but it gets results. Hey, I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I'm a little, just a little bit crazy, all right. And anything else? It says make sure you keep, make sure you keep that data protected. And which is some parts of Kentucky, I think is an hour behind. That is, I gotta pull up a map. Let me check because I was surprised to find out that Indiana as well as Michigan are also Eastern time. So I was surprised about that. Let me see. US map. And well, that's not a good map. All right, let's see. Oh, okay, I see. Man, my geography of the US is so bad. So because there's like a little part of Florida. So we can do this like this. Let's see. Let's do a U.S. geography lesson real quick. So we can go to. So not the best map, but like there's little parts of Florida that like this part of Florida that's like right under Alabama. I believe that part is an hour, is Central Time. But being that Kentucky is here, I guess parts of Kentucky, like maybe this line right here, could be considered. Maybe it cuts off over here, but Indiana is also Central Time, and Michigan is over here, so Michigan would fall into Eastern, I guess. It's so weird, like how they pick and choose, like, but like Illinois is Central, and Nebraska. Where's Nebraska? Nebraska, where I went last year, October, is also Central Time. But enough of the geography lesson. I was not the best geography person. All right, so let's see here. Where else were we? All right, so Tech Takeover says, yes, you are crazy, but it's what I needed. Your friendship will forever be valued. Yeah, I do it. I do what I can. I do what I can. And Mitch says, well, Mitch, think about this, right? If my head did get bigger than it actually is, then I wouldn't be able to wear this hat, right? And then that would make you happy if I can't wear this hat. So, it might work out to your advantage, right? It might work out to your advantage. I mean, I could do that, but then I wouldn't be able to pull up this confusing map, would I? So, anyways, Mitch. All right, let's get to the show. Let's get to the show. All right, let's just get to the show. All right. So before we jump in, do me a big favor. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live. And if you need additional content, additional help, additional coaching, go check out the Patreon at www.techcoachralph.dev, where you can sign up for one-on-one coaching, as well as we have, like, just this past weekend, I did a Patreon members only live stream where I was teaching about, we were having an agile training, and sometimes I do different live streams in there for the Patreon members, and then I also do like videos. And if you request anything, you're definitely going to get that video created, as well as if you if you have any questions, you can message me on there. Like anything you need on the Patreon, I will definitely respond back to you and get you whatever it is you need. So if you need that additional help, additional push, go ahead and sign up for the Patreon and we can go from there. All right. All right. So we are ready to get into our first Q&A of April. Let's get the timer up. Where'd that come from? I think that was from yesterday morning was a disaster stream. Like I had so many different things running on my computer and it was about to crash. So I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm not doing this. I am not doing this. So it is what it is. All right, let's reset the timer. All right, we are ready to get going. Where are my questions? And like I said, if anyone doesn't want to call in, the link is pinned to the top of the chat to call it. It's the Restream link. Click on the Restream link and you can call in and we can have a conversation. All right. All righty then. So let's get going with our first question of the night.
Another one.
And we start off with a good one. So much hate for QA. I was just reading through some posts made by developers. The people in these posts hated. Hate is such a strong word. Working with QA and prefer to test their own code or have the dev manager do it. How common is this really? I have a hard time believing that everyone who posted wasn't just trolling, but who knows? Some are saying that QA departments have been gotten rid of, are being gotten rid of, and is becoming the trend. Personally, without me testing before things get deployed to testing, a lot more bugs would get through because I catch a lot. That is a good question. So, is QA hated by developers? Well, let's find out now. Let's start the clock. So, I think that QA is hated by developers who are not very good at their job and who are insecure. Why do I say that they're insecure? Well, because if your ego is preventing you from like the drive of the success of the client, the customer, the client, the company, your stakeholders, then that's a you problem. That's a you problem. It is not the QA problem. Because if, number one, if you write bad code, if you write buggy code, and as soon as you deliver it to QA, and it's like, oh, there's a problem here, there's a problem there, that's a problem there, then that's a you problem, Mr. Developer, Mrs. Developer. And you need to get better. Now, here on the flip side, I do think that some QAs, they do not bring the necessary value, and it could be somewhat frustrating. And what is the necessary value? So I think that you become an extraordinary, because you can be an ordinary QA, but you become extraordinary when you are starting to contribute to the thought process, to the development ideas, not necessarily to the development code, but to the development idea on how to make the overall project better. As well as if you can shift the QA thinking, the QA mindset, they call it shift left, where we say, okay, how can we, instead of like looking for bugs and now the developer has to go and rework a bunch of stuff and fix things here and fix things there, how can we be proactive and start preventing bugs instead of only like finding them on the other side and say, oh, you missed this, you missed that? Can we start to work with the developers to bring more value to our teams? And that's what I always advocate. And maybe that's why I've always had such amazing relationships with all of my developers, because we are saying, okay, see, can we do it this way? Because this is a potential risk. This is a problem that we might run into if we were to go this route. So you have to be active and attentive in these meetings. If you are not joining the meetings from the day that the project is being planned and worked on, and you just only show up at the end to poop on all the work that was done, then I could see why you might be hated so much. And the idea of developers testing their own code is absolutely ludicrous. It's crazy because you should never test. Like you definitely need to write, like developers definitely need to write unit tests. But for them to come up with a testing strategy, like where would they get that from? And that's why QA is absolutely needed. Hated or not hated, QA is absolutely needed. And the dev manager doing testing, show me a dev manager who's actually like, what wouldn't they just become the QA manager if the dev manager is doing testing? Absolutely not. We're not doing that. So QA is like whether they hate QA or not, and whether they're trolling or not, nobody cares. Because guess what? When the customer's product isn't working and when their data gets stolen and all of that, the customer is not going to say, "Oh well, the devs hated QA, so I guess it's okay that I'm paying a bunch of money and my application doesn't work." Doesn't work that way. So therefore, who cares how they feel about you? Guess what? Although I have great relationships with my developers, with my like whoever I work with other QAs and stuff like that, at the end of the day, my priority is to make sure that the stakeholders and that my customers are happy and that my company is trending in the right direction. And I definitely like you don't want to be a jerk to who you work with, but if you're finding issues, communicate it well, but you still have to communicate it. And I would rather be unliked and solve the problem than be liked and we do a terrible job, and then now to be liked and unemployed is not where I want to be. I'd rather be slightly disliked, although I won't be because, as Mitch will tell you, I have an absolutely amazing.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
Exactly. I have an amazing personality that who could not like me, all right? But if you think that you're hated as a QA person, well, be a little bit more like me, maybe, be a little have a personality like mine, but continue to report all of the issues and try to shift left. Try to start working with your developers before they start implementing so that way you can show like bring additional value and start being more preventive, more proactive instead of being reactive and then getting them frustrated because they have to go back and work on something when they're looking to move on to the next things. All right. All right. Hopefully that helps. Oh my goodness. We got 2 all-stars in the chat. Shout out to I'm technically Tim. And we got Pluto in the building. And I'm technically Tim is a member of the channel. So he gets a second one. And
We the best.
all right. And Tim, check out the custom emojis that we have in there as well. All right. So shout out to Coach and everybody in the chat. Shout out to you. And Pluto says, howdy, everyone. Howdy to what's going on?
Let's get it.
All right. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm technically using those custom emojis. That's what I'm talking about. And Mitch says, I used to not like you, Ralph. Wow. Well, see, my amazing personality changed that, right? So that's what I was talking about. See, you get me. You get me. And let's see. Let's go to that's what I'm talking about. Who's gonna carry the boats? All right. Also, I need to make that a sound bite. I'm gonna work on that. I need to work on some of my getting some new sound effects. So I will work on that. All right. All right. All right. Let's get to our next question of the night. All right. So we get this question quite a bit, but get some water first. Let's get some water. Gotta stay hydrated. All right, let's go.
Another one.
How hard will it be to land a QA engineering job? I want to find work in QA as an entry into software development. I'm currently about to finish my associate's degree in computer science. Unfortunately, bachelor's isn't possible yet due to life circumstances, but plan to pursue it later. I'm fairly good at Python and I have been using it for a few years now. I have strong front end skills, things like React, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but I'm aware of how bad the web dev market is at the moment. Well, if you think the web dev market is bad, wait till you hear this answer. I plan to do some self-learning of QA to prep myself. If anyone has some suggestions for learning, send them my way. Currently plan to use the roadmap.sh site and do some testing projects for my portfolio. Any advice would be lovely. So shout out to Pluto because he sent me some roadmaps from the roadmap.sh site as well as their Discord. So I had no idea about that. And they have some really, really cool roadmaps over there. So I think that is a step in the right direction. But let's start the clock. All right, here we go. So like I said, if you think the web dev market is tough, welcome to the world of QA, because guess what? In the world of QA, in the world of software development as a whole, you're going to find that the ratio of developers to QA is about 4-1, maybe it's 3 to 4-1, right? And that means if you're on a web dev team, there might be 3-4 web developers and one QA person. So let's say when the developers are working on a ticket, you're that one QA engineer is going to be responsible for testing, like writing the test plan, automating, like doing the manual tests, writing the bugs and stuff like that, right? And in Agile, you can bring in the developers to help you as well if you use your resources the right way. But for you to think that the web dev department is the web dev is tough, but thinking that you're gonna have a better opportunity in QA, that's gonna be a tough sell. However, I can still answer your question. So I would say if you do not have any QA experience, right? Because I think it's amazing, absolutely amazing that you have strong front end skills. And I actually recommend now that the people who are interested in QA, you need to learn the tools or the languages that you're going to be using. You don't have to be an expert at them by any means, right? You don't have to be an expert, but you do need to, I would say you should have a good understanding. Like if you're going to on front end development and databases and some good understanding of back end as well, depending on if you're going to be working with APIs and stuff. So whatever you're going to be working on, you need to have a good understanding of it. It doesn't have to be as good as developers to have that understanding, but the reason that you want to have a good understanding is because it's going to make it easier for you to understand what you're testing. Back in the days, a lot of QA people didn't have to be technical at all. They just had to be good at being able to navigate and find issues and report issues and stuff, get documentation skills. Well, that part hasn't changed. You still need to have all of those skills. The part that changes, all right, I'm going to be honest with you. You can blame me for this, right? You can definitely blame me for this. I came into QA with a lot of web development, like CSS, HTML, JavaScript understanding, and with a tech, with a background in tech support. And forgot to get rid of this, but yeah, with a background in tech support, I was very like good at troubleshooting, good at investigating and stuff like that. And I would always push further and further and further. So what now a lot more QAs, like, because when I started, I don't even think there was a role QA engineer, right? But now the role QA engineer is something that's common, and automation is expected. So if you have a better understanding of what you're working on, you're going to be more effectively able to think about the risk, about able to troubleshoot, to able to read the code better, and navigate better, have more in-depth conversations, and not just sit around and wait for them to say, hey, this is ready to be tested. And then you start testing and writing your test cases. No, you can get involved at the very beginning and say, you can give suggestions, you can give ideas, you can push the project forward. You can put your thumbprint, your fingerprint on the state of the project, because you can have more meaningful conversations with your scrum master, with your product owner, with your developer, with your backend developers, with your front end developers. So I would definitely say learn how APIs work. Learn about like you in particular, you like you said, you have a front end, you have strong front end skills, which is great, which would help you. At the same time, you don't want to let your development skills go by the wayside. One of the reasons that I tend to favor software engineering, and that's why I do a lot of software engineering and development on my own, because one, it keeps me learning, as well as it makes you dynamic enough that you like all how to write a test plan, bugs in these tools. You understand like how does testing work in an agile environment. You want to take the API testing course so that you can find out how to properly test APIs, so that when you get into that position, you can hit the ground running, as well as you'll be able to have great conversations about it. So those are all of the different components that it's going to take. From what I've seen, because a lot of people come to me from, boot camps or self-learning and stuff like that. And you can even with my friend Jared from Calculus Coder, you can even see it. Like when we were doing the automation on his free mind recovery site, there were so many like things that were missing to properly be able to test it. And those are the things that, as like, there's no more entry level QA, especially in the United States. And when I say there's no more, I mean there's 99% chance you're not going to get it here in the United States. So you have to force yourself to be at least a mid-level, especially when trying to transition, because it is so hard to get that entry level because there's so much competition for it. Everybody is looking for that entry level role, and barely anybody gets it. Like I said, there's a 4-to-1 ratio, right? So you need to go above and beyond to learn so much more to be able to land a QA job. And I think it's probably similar to for the web development and for the Java jobs. Not Java, but for the software, like the backend development jobs. So it's how did it go in the movie? It's tough out here, So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's possible. But it is going to be an uphill battle. All right, let's check the Chizat. And we got, let's see where we at. Pluto says, converting haters to lovers on some reverse Kanye stuff. You know how we do. I know. Come on, bitch. Come on, you don't have that wrench for nothing. All right. And Pluto says that's a good resource for a step-by-step direction. Yep, that is talking about the roadmap.sh. Very, very cool. That's a very cool Discord server. And I guess what is easier to get into, QA or dev, now is a lot more. So there's like automation. I like, for instance, with me, I do automation, like, of course, hired to do automation, but I also do infrastructure as code changes. I create scripts to like help facilitate some of the processes, but with a more testing focus. But like sometimes I dive into their with a more testing focus, but like sometimes I dive into their realm to help free them up so we can like, because at the end of the day, it's all about like achieving our goals, you know. So yeah, that's a tough one too. That's a tough one. Let me see. And what's going on? Darcel. Do we have buffering? Wait a second. Do we have buffering? Let me see. Okay. Wow, that's I didn't have any drop frames. That's interesting. You guys let me know if it starts to mess up, then I'll check it out. And see, that's why I appreciate you, Mitch.
I appreciate you.
Keeping Ralph on track every single time. All right. And Darcy says, as usual, I'm here for the convo. Hopefully, I understand what's going on. Still new to the tech industry. Well, guess what? Darcel and somebody, I think it might have been one of my parents, but they said that they have no idea what I'm talking about. But every time that they listen, they learn just a little bit more. So, hey, welcome. You are more than welcome. And if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, feel free to ask. All right. And welcome to the tech industry as well. And Pluto says it's the same in cybersecurity. Yeah. And I had a video last week about like some of the salaries in GRC. And like there's so many different, like even in GRC, there's so many different roles that I was unfamiliar with. So that's and def good info too. The more you listen, eventually, yep, that's what I was just saying. See, like Mitch, we're here, Mitch, we're here. All right, and there's no entry level. You need connections. Yep. And Pluto says my friend got an interview out of 1,500 applicants solely because I was the referral. That's how it goes. And like a lot of times you need to, if I've had recruiters reach out to me because like just based on like either my LinkedIn profile or my resume, and then like when they reach out to you, they kind of like move you to the top of the list because they're because you have a bunch of people who are applying, but they might not meet the necessary qualifications, while they have the recruiters from the companies and recruiters from like other like private recruiting companies, right? Staffing companies, where they're scouring LinkedIn and stuff to see what are like if this person meets the requirements and stuff like that. So definitely like, you know, make connections, And Pluto says nepotism, baby. There is nothing wrong with a little nepotism. All right. And which says definitely Pluto, definitely in cybersecurity. Pluto says, it's a major trust aspect. And yeah, like cyber is kind of crazy, you know, because like there's so much things that are happening in there. I swear my director hated my entire team. She only liked us the last half of the contract when we gained her trust. You got to prove yourself. You have to prove yourself. All right. So hopefully we took care of the buffering, or took care of it on its own. And all right. So, okay. Looks like we're back. Let me know if we're still good. All right. Let me know if we're still good. And then Pluto says, I think it's hard for tech companies to hire no experience, and someone messing with code or security could be detrimental. Tough market. It's a trust system and reputation when recruiters pick people. And I'll tell you this, there's been like people that I've recommended and stuff like that like they didn't make the cut. Like I might think that they were qualified for it, but you know, at the end of the day, it's not my decision to make. And I even like if I was to be part of that, like if I would normally be part of the interview process, I'd remove myself from the interview process just because I don't want to put my thumb on the scale of like I recommended them, but I don't want like I can't like force something like that because they still have to like go through the whole process, you know. So, but yeah, like is what it is. But yeah, like hiring with no experience, it's tough because I'll tell you this. I've said it in the past, hiring is super, super expensive. It's really, really expensive. Like, and people don't see that. So in the video that I did yesterday, like people are like, oh, you know, just give us a chance, just give us a chance and stuff like that. The thing is, to give you that chance, and if you don't work out, it is a lot. It's a huge investment to take into people when you hear things like, and when you hear things like this, right? In California, they have like yesterday on April Fool's Day of all days, right? They raised the new minimum wage went into effect, paying fast food workers $20 per hour. Like that's supposed to be an entry level role that you're getting $20 an hour. So you bet like you're gonna have to come with some experience at that point. And it's hard. Like it's hiring is expensive. Like if you know like how much companies pay for GitHub, how much they pay for Jira. So for you to have access to GitHub, like so you can able to push code and stuff like that, for you to be able to have access to Jira, for you to have access to Slack, AWS, all of those things are bills and then that's on top of your salary. That's on top of your salary. So hiring is super, super expensive. And if you don't work out, then they have to go through the whole expensive process again. And that's why I don't fault companies for taking, having 4 rounds of interviews. One of my friends, they should be done right now, but they were going through the interview process for a huge company. And they had to wake up early because the company was like in Europe or something. They had to wake up early and it's like almost like 5 to 6 rounds of interviews, but they went through it because they wanted to work for that company. Whenever I see like when they say, oh, should just be one interview and hired. Like you're in any position to make the rules. Anyways, I'm going off on a rant. This is not Candid Conversations. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Mitch says, even with my role, it wasn't even posted. They asked if I wanted to do it. These companies are funny. That's how, like, when they like you, they like you, When they like you, they like you. And Mitch says, I actually have experience, just wasn't posted. Plus, they created the role. See that, and that's because Mitch is special. They created a role just for Mitch. Aww. And no, the $20 was not an April Fool's joke. They got a 25%. The minimum wage was $15. I think it was in California, and they went up to $20 to flip burgers and make some fries. Don't take away the fries making. All right, and yes, $20. Don't quit cyber, because if you quit your job, your cyber job, to go flip burgers, you're just gonna get laid off or your hours reduced. So you're not gonna win. All right, you're not gonna win. And it's just $20 an hour, but they are working 15 hours a week. Exactly, $10 an hour. They're working 40 hours a week. It all comes down to the same, right? That the living wage is still not a living wage. And all right. So let's just jump to the next question, because I can just like read your comments all night long because they are so fun. But let's get to the next question, and then we'll continue with the comments. All right. So let's do question number 3. But before we do that, if you haven't done so yet, do me a big favor: like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, get us on the upward trend to a faithful 1,000 subscribers. We are almost there. All right. So let's do it. And if you haven't done so yet, like I said, subscribe to the channel. Like, what are you waiting for? Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. If you need additional help, go over to www.techcoachralph.dev. But on that note,
Another one.
I feel like I'll never make it more than $60,000 a year without a grad school degree. How true is this? Or possibly 80 to 90K in a HCOL, high cost of living area like the Bay Area or New York City. Also adjusted for inflation, so 60K for 2024. I know 60K isn't horrible, but I feel like I'll never be able to be fully comfortable and won't have the privilege of financial stability unless I live my life like I'm making less than a living wage, aka the wage I'm making now, which for some additional context, they're making 40K now. I can't see myself with a long-time partner anytime soon. Obviously, that could change. So I don't know if I'm doomed to have roommates forever, or maybe I'm underestimating 60K. You certainly are underestimating 60K. I'll tell you that. It just sucks that I feel that like that's my cap and I'll never make anything more unless I work two jobs. Man, I was working two jobs when I was 18 years old. Come on, son. Which is probably what I'll end up doing soon. Plus my side hustle. What is your side hustle? What do you guys think? Also, grad school wouldn't be a financial burden for me. Lucky for you. I'm very lucky to have an account for school funds and wouldn't need to take out any loans. But you're going to be wasting the account for school funds. I'd most likely go for a master's degree in. What is a master's degree in? Any guesses? Any guesses what the master's degree is going to be in? Any guesses in what the master's degree is going to be in? Marketing. For context, their undergrad degree is in communications. All right. So let's get this show on the road. And that is a great guess, Pluto. That is a great guess. You were close, but not quite. But that was a great guess. A great guess. So, yes. But the undergrad is in communication, and they want to do their grad degree in marketing. All right, 5 minutes. So, well, the undergrad mentions right on the undergrad, but the graduate is so for marketing. So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. 60K. I don't know where exactly that you live, but with inflation, 60K is not enough, right? But the problem is, which we spoke about this before, there's a few things that there's a problem with this, right? No one does their research. No one does their research, which I didn't like. Even when I was going to college and I chose computer science, I didn't do my research either. I just said, oh, computer science because I like computers. I had no idea what computer science was. But luckily, I stuck with computers and it was able to get me like in the right direction and stuff like that. Being technically inclined, people will always need you when you can like figure things out. However, when people go to college for communications, communicating to who? Like, what courses? Like, I remember like I took speech. What was that? Is that one of those classes that you take for your A? Like speech. I think it's called speech. I don't remember the name of it, but and I hated it because I hated talking in front of people. Believe it or not. And I'm like, what exactly is communications? Like how to like become a journalist or something like I mean, I guess there's also the major of journalism, but communications, marketing, journalism, like what political science, that's another one, political science. What are we looking to do? Like how much research are we doing? See, the thing I don't understand is I can go on like Udemy and probably take a political science or communications course because I mean you can definitely take all the other courses, right? Like for tech stuff. But I always wonder what is it that like how far are we looking into the future? Because when we're doing like this like these feel good majors, and then we get upset because the most that we can make is like we don't see a future in sight. We're making 40K and stuff like that. And like one thing I like to do when somebody says I want to do this, I'm like, all right, cool, let's go see what it is on Glassdoor. How much does it pay? What type of education do you need? How long is it going to take? Do you like math? I remember I heard the lead attorney talking about I became a lawyer because I didn't want to do math. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, you know. um, so I don't know. It's we don't properly plan. Now the other thing is the part that also bothers me, right, is I feel like I'll never be able to be fully comfortable. And you just have to work. Like I don't know. It's just crazy to me how we we have these expectations without the work that we have to do it, you know? Um I remember I just like I just put in the work, you know? But we also have to like have a better vision for the future. And that's one thing whenever I start coaching somebody, I say, all right, let's set some goals. Let's set some goals. I was listening to the Dana White and Sage Steele interview this morning, and although Sage Steele asked Dana White, "What does Joe Rogan dream about at night?" which was like crazy but hilarious. Um, when she, like Dana White said, "I don't dream. I don't dream because dreams happen while you're sleeping. I set goals and I accomplish my goals." And I think we need to do a better job at planning our futures. And to a certain extent, I blame parents for not properly setting us up to look at like our future. But at the end of the day, our life is our own responsibility. And the way that many people want to transition, we need to set a game plan and say, okay, this is where I want to be. And if you're not sure, then you need to get mentors, get coaches who are going to help you see what your options are, what routes you can take, things like that. A lot of times now, people want to tell the coach or the mentor how they're going to do it instead of ask for direction and for guidance. And we really need to be more mindful so that we don't have to be asking, will I ever make more than 60,000? I do, like I I would never set a cap at a particular number. I would never I can't set a cap. Like I want as much as I can get because I want to position myself for the future in the best position that I can. So, um I would say you need to reconsider marketing because what type of marketing like what positions are available with a master's in marketing? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you know, but if you want to go spend money, or I guess you're not spending the money, but if you want to go get a master's just to make 20K more, just like a master's degree just for 20K more, I don't know. I would have to do some serious soul searching for that. So anyhow, that's how I see it. That's how I see it. All right, let me read a few more chats because they are good tonight. They are good tonight. So we got, where did I leave off? Where did I leave off? All right, we got this is 20 hours, but state tax is 40% and insurance and mortgage up. And don't forget, if you're working part time, they still would want you to have health insurance. So then you have to go into the marketplace and pay like $500 a month for insurance. So you end up like with nothing. So, and Pluto says, not to be too political, but lower taxes is better than a higher minimum wage. You know what? That is not too political, and I would absolutely love lower taxes. All right. So, and Technique Tim says, go ahead and get that rant off your. I got it off yesterday, but then I read this question and I was like, oh, and and facts, Pluto, we want flax tax. He says, Rob, we think too much alike. Tell me about it. It's scary. Flat tax. Yeah, got that. I thought you were being like cool with the flax tax, but you know. And please move to Dubai. Problem solved. That's an option. That is an option. All right. Tech and flat. Yeah, that tech and flat tax. I would love that. All right, let's go down to come to the south. Problem solved. Yeah, definitely can make more than 60K. Just keep going. Why do people set caps on themselves? Like, why limit yourself? Why limit yourself? You can't limit yourself. And let's see. Could do product marketing analytics, product marketer. Yeah, you could. You could. It's possible. It's possible. All right, let's get to the next question. And then we will go back to the chat. All right. So, next question. Oh, this is going to be an easy one. So, should be pretty quick. All right. So, let's do it.
Another one.
What do your work hours look like? Normal work hours, on-call duties, day shift, night shift, etc. So, I'll give my how my current work hours look, and then I'll talk about how they've pretty much looked in the past. So, I, for one, work remote, and I kind of like match my hours to the hours that my team works. So the majority of my team works Central Time. So I'll probably log on a little bit earlier, maybe like an hour earlier than them, and I'll start working. And so I probably work 9 a.m. to 5:30, 6 p.m. Central Time. Eastern Time, not Central Time, Eastern Time. And on call duty. So we have like on call for the services that we own. And it's a rotation for all the people who are on the team. And on call. And I mean, that structure is going to be changing soon, but yeah, I work day shift. I do not work night shift, right? So that is my current. Did I start the clock? I didn't start the clock. All right, let's start the clock. But in the past, I worked. Let's see. So this is for a QA position, right? I've been doing QA. Honestly, here's what you have to understand. When it comes to work hours, if you are not a hourly employee, then work hours are very, very flexible, right? Like there's an expectation of the time that you're supposed to be on, that you're supposed to be available, but they're flexible in the sense of it's really based on the work getting done. It's not like, oh, I'm going to log on at 9 o'clock sharp and I'm going to log off at 5 o'clock sharp. That mentality just doesn't work. You have to be available and you need to be able to get the job done. You have goals that you need to reach. So you need to be focused on that. And then depending on the type of work that you do, you might have to be on call because if you are in a service as a software type thing, then you have to be available. And if things go bad, then you have to be available. So for instance, I have Slack on my phone, and so I get notifications and stuff like that to check, even when I'm not like on call or something, but I always like to monitor in case I'm being tagged in something, in case I'm needed. But that's the nature of as you elevate yourself in the in especially in the tech space, right? But let's say you were in sales. I would imagine that if you're in sales, you're commission based. So you're always going to be available to be able to talk to potential clients, potential customers, and stuff like that, because you never know when that next deal is the next big deal. So I'm like always available, although I'm not always like working like after hours, but during the daytime, I'm always available. I'm always and it's regular shift. But in the past, although like I would be working regular shifts and stuff like that, it was more of hybrid roles. For instance, when there would be a major release that's happening, then if I have to be like, there's been times that I've been available at like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. There's been time like there was one project that we're working on where because our customers were in Japan and they needed support for the initial launch of the product, we had to work overnight. We worked overnight from home, but we still had to work overnight. And it was me and a crew of QA, more junior QA engineers, and we were like, making sure nothing went down, making like we were just working our regular hours. But like what we would normally do during the daytime, we just did it at nighttime, and then for it was like I think we did it for like a week or so. In the past, like when I was when for another company when we were supporting, like we had to do some development and testing for a lawsuit. We ended up like I spent the whole weekend at the office that time. I probably went home for like an hour and then came back. And then if you want to elevate, especially in the tech field, you're going to have to do what you have to do. You have to show initiative. You have to go out there and get it. Anything you want to achieve, you have to go out there and get it. Nothing is going to be handed to you. Even if we talk about that nepotism that Pluto is talking about, but it's rare cases that the nepotism can protect you from if you're doing a terrible job, because at the end of the day, you still have to produce. And if you are a liability, unless it's like your parent is the owner or something like that, who knows, right? But at the end of the day, you have to produce. What can you produce? So nepotism can't like nepotism might be able to get you the job, but it won't necessarily keep you the job. You might be giving a little more grace, but it's about you going out there and get it. So I also remember when I was doing tech support and there was a major hurricane down here in South Florida, and the company they called them the stormtroopers, and they were at the office for like a week straight with barely any power. And then once there was like no power for 2 weeks, and then once they started like opening up the roads a little bit more, then they started bringing people in from like other employees in, but they were still working like these like segments and shifts. And I was going there for like 12-hour blocks and stuff like that. We're working and stuff like that. So work hours vary, but I'll tell you this. Do not worry as much on the work hours as much on what do we need to get the job done, and collaborate and negotiate and stuff like that, and go from there. All right. So that is my thoughts and my ideas on work hours. I work normal work hours, but I'm always willing to do whatever we need to do to get it done. All right. Let's see what we got in the chat. Water first. So, Pluto says, in my opinion, money is relative. Yes, where you live, how you live, and goals. I make $65K down south, modest lifestyle. I only use 30%. 40% of my income in terms of family. I know people, 3 kids, 40K a year. Yep. It's relative, but although it's relative, it's so it is relative, but I don't put a cap on it though, right? You see what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be satisfied at 70. I just want to because the way I see it, with whatever, like with the work that you do and the value that you put out there, you're going to be compensated for that. So that's why I'm like, I'm not putting a cap. And like I said, it depends on where you live, depends on your family situation. If it's just you, maybe 65K is enough. What goals, what aspirations do you have? So many things play into it. Give me 100K and I will conquer Mars. I don't know. 100K is not what it used to be, though. I'm going to be honest. 100K is like, and I guess it depends on the South because I live in South Florida. So the price of the brick is definitely up down here. Like, do you guys know how much homeowners insurance is down here? It is absolutely insane. So things aren't what it used to be. And like the price of houses, property taxes, it's crazy down here. Because I remember when I felt like that too. I think we all did. But the difference are you going to keep thinking about it or do something about it? I remember when I was like 20, 24 or something like that, and I was probably 24, and I was making 50K. I was like, 50K? What in the world? 50K? And now I'm like, 50K? But I'm old, so I don't know. All right, so once you hit 100, you will want more, even if you don't spend it. After 100, it becomes a game. Yep. And imagine when you hit 1 million. So I want Mitch. I think we're just going for it all, right? We no caps, no cap. Many people are thinkers, not doers these days. Think, plan, document, act. For me, setting deadlines. Yep. And I'll tell you this. Pluto has very, very detailed ideas and plans. Like he's a goal setter for real. He is shout out to Pluto. We got Tech Takeover in the building. If you want Tech Coach Ralph as a coach or mentor, you better get ready for the savagery that comes with it. But I think it is worth it. That's a fact, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am not gonna lie to you. And it was just, for me, to be honest, I don't think I will care to make more. The money is to fund my other ambitions quicker, but I wouldn't increase my lifestyle or spending. Last year, I was 20K. My cost of living went down. It's a different beast. Money for me is an accelerator. Yeah, I mean, I just want to put my foot on the gas even more. That's what Mitch and I are saying. Like, it just helps us press on the gas a little bit harder. That's how do you guys define money? I don't know. Let's see. Whatever it's for, just will want more. I don't know. Maybe some people, like, I've had these conversations with people in the past, Mitch, where they're like, I'd be okay with this, and I'm like, what about $1 more though? For me, I'm always like, I just want one more. But it's also like, I think it's my mindset of like when I'm coding, right, and I'm so close, and I'm like, and then I end up like 3 hours later just to figure it out. So I think that's the game that you're talking about, Mitch. Is like, if I could do this, what else can I do? Right. So that's what I'm getting from what Mitch is saying. All right, let's go to the next question because the chat is popping, and like we're doing a balancing act over here. We're doing a balancing act of questions and chat. All right. So I hope you guys are having a great time. I hope you're having an amazing time. All right, because I'm having a ball. But if you are having a great time, do me a big favor: like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every single time that we go live. All right. So we're going to get to our next question of the night.
Another one.
It freaks me out that not all companies are using software testing. Says, hello. I need an honest answer if software testing is useless or not. Is it used in all companies Like, do they hire a person for just only software testing? Where have you been, my friend? So let's put our timer up. And so I'll tell you this. Not all companies use software testing, but those companies usually go bye-bye pretty quick. And I'll tell you this, right? I've had conversations with what they call startups, right? And I put startups in quotations because not all startups are actually startups. Some people they'll go and register an LLC or something like that, and then they're like one or two developers, and they say, "Oh, we're a startup because we created this." And no, you're not really a startup because like just because you like some people call their hobby a startup. Now that's not to say that a hobby cannot turn into a startup, but I think sometimes we call something a startup a little bit prematurely. A little bit prematurely. So I'll tell you a story real quick. When I am looking to get my tech barbarians some experience in whatever like field they're looking to go into, I'll try to reach out to some startups, which it's amazing that there's so many startups, but none of them really want they don't want the what they need. Whatever. Anyways, so like I was saying, I'll try to reach out to them. And one startup said like, "Oh, like we're looking for developers." And I'm like, "Well, have you ever thought about like, do you have any testing in place?" And they're like, no, but we just want to build it and go to market, and then we'll think about testing." I'm like, I'm like, are you serious? Do you want your product to fail before it even launches? But that's the idea and the mindset that a lot of startups have, where it's the idea of I just want to get to market, and you end up having like buggy code, a defective software, like so many things. But the startup that did take my offer and I was able to plug in one of my tech barbarians in there, like you should see, because what I'm doing, I'm plugging them in so they can gain experience. And you have a 15-year QA engineer who is mentoring and monitoring the process of testing and stuff like that. Excuse me. Teaching them, teaching like the person that I put in place, like the different strategies, different things to do, stuff like that. And the value that they've been able to bring to the startup, which didn't have any like serious testing in place, finding all types of bugs and stuff like that. So I would say any like I wish I could find out more details about the what goes on in the background about the companies that I use, because when you hear about all these data leaks and stuff like that, I always ask like what kind of like protocols and testing measures and security stuff that you had in place. Because for instance, the AT&T outage that happened back in February, right? That was a like I know people were talking about, oh my god, it's like it's a cybersecurity attack and stuff like that. It might have just been someone who didn't close a statement with a semicolon or something, right? It could have been a Python script that didn't have a colon at the end, and Python would try to run anyways. So sometimes like what kind of like I wish I could see like what kind of testing protocols do you have in place to make sure that things are working. Like I was talking about the company that we're supporting in Japan. They had asked us like, "Hey, can you give us a copy of all your test cases that you have so we can execute them on our end?" I was like, "Sure." I just went in there and I printed out the test cases that we created. So I like honestly, I don't trust a company that doesn't test their software. I've heard the sentiment of, "We'll test it in prod, major fail, or we'll let the product manager or product owners test." Nope. Like you need to have like test plans, test cases, automated testing, CI/CD pipeline, and I I wouldn't consider you a quote unquote software company at least if you do not have these things in place. If you need to do a bunch of manual tests, like I mean, I can understand if you have to do some manual tests to get started, right? But you always want to trend on the direction of automation. Like with AI, who could not be doing automation at this point? Because you are going to put yourself in the like you just put yourself in such danger when you don't have like just kiss your company goodbye. That's how I did a video like a few maybe 2 months ago about startups. So software testing is definitely not useless, and companies hire people all the time to just do software testing. They're called, I mean, nowadays they're called software engineers, and they are responsible for end to end testing and helping and guiding, and help. Like, I believe that as a person in QA with like quality in the mind, you need to guide your software developers, your front developers into having a testing mindset as well so that you can be successful in so your company and your software can be successful, right? That is the goal at the end of the day. Customers, because customer satisfaction is always the number one goal. All right. So let's see what else we got going on here. Got Mitch says, for me, more than comfortable, because if you're just comfortable, once one thing goes wrong, you aren't comfortable anymore. That's a fact. Bars, Mitch, bars. But in reality, the money is what you think will sustain your life. That's good point, Mitch. Good point. I like where this is going. All right. Let's see what else. Okay, Ralph, with the Japan flex. All right. Well, I was not in Japan. I was just working overnight. So, but I'll tell you a story. All right, bitch. I'll tell you a story. This is what happened with this whole Japan thing. So I had just got some new tires, some new wheels on the car, some rims, and I finished working the overnight shift, and I went to pick up my wife from work, and I was like super tired. I was backing up, and I scratched the rims like 3 days after getting them. Scratched the rim 3 days after getting them. So that was not the best time. I was so mad about that. But it is what it is. All right. And it's just I think people need to understand it's hard, not impossible, but hard. None of this stuff is just handed to you. And if it is, you don't know anything, you will be exposed quickly. That's a fact. Thank you, Mitch. You know, I'm talking too much today. You are never talking too much, Mitch. Come on, Mitch. You're never talking too much. And Darcel in the chat says the worst work hours I've had to work was Friday to Sunday, 6 p.m. to 6. Ooh, Darcel. Oh my goodness. Who didn't like you? Who didn't like you to give you those hours? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Was that like in like a hospital or something? Because I know like the hospitals have those 12-hour shifts, and you'd be like working the weekends. So I wonder if that was like at a hospital, because that's like one of the few places that I could see working that shift. Although I guess a toll booth person could be doing that. I guess a bridge operator could be doing that. But I'm gonna guess was it at a hospital? That would be my guess. That was a hospital. And which is price of the brickle is up, not just the brick. Crazy. It's crazy. And Pluto says, what most tech channels don't talk about, on call and gotta be ready to produce at all times, especially remote. You better stay visible or you'll fade into the layoffs, the dark hole of layoffs. See, good point. Message. And it says, there's definitely no cap. All right. It says, I agree with you on the money as long as it meets goals and sustains. It's a W. right. This one. All right. This one. All right. Let's.
Message.
All right. So Pluto says, or Mitch says, true, Pluto. The stuff they don't tell you, facts. Just like do a boot camp in 2 weeks and make $300,000 for your first, not your second, not your third, but your first job. What I'm talking about. I'm trying to get that 300K off my first job, but it didn't work out too well. And I see people selling boot camps for 15K and don't get jobs. Oh my! Like if you knew how many messages I get about like, oh, I did this boot camp, like, and I'll tell you this. I've seen people who they'll do a boot camp. They pay 12K for the boot camp, and then they look for about like they don't actually they might not even finish the boot camp, and they're already jumping to another part of another boot camp. And I'm like, that's the research part. The research part I was talking about. You know, it's I have mixed feelings about it because the reason I have mixed feelings about this is because I've spoken to a lot of them, and so while the boot camp, I give boot camps credit for this, right? The way that they get you in, it might not be like the best way, but it's a terrible way, but it's a business, right? But they do give you the information that you need to be able to do part of the job, but they don't give you all the information about like how to actually work. You know, like their internships are crap for the most part. But here's the problem. Now, like when they come to me and I'm like, all right, this is what you need to do so you can like get the information that you need, like the skills that you need and stuff like that. You need to do this, and that. They don't want to do it. And I think that people tend to go towards boot camps because two reasons I think they go towards boot camps. Number one, it's easy to blame someone else when you don't get the results that you wanted to get because they say that like, oh, well, they told me I'd get this if I just did that. And like, they don't put in the extra work. Number two, like after they're able to pass the blame. Number two, like so many people that I work with, I'm like, you need to do this. And they just don't do it. Like so many times it's like, this is what, like, I need you to do this. Like, I kid you not, I need you to do this. And they just don't do it. So it's like, it's hard to say that, like, you know, it's like the boot camps, like, I don't like some of their marketing tactics, but people also don't do what they're supposed to do. And for that, I don't have any sympathy. Like, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, I don't have any, zero, zilch, nada sympathy for you, okay? So, because I'm eating pizza here, boosting my blood levels real quick. Pluto, is today your Friday, or is tomorrow, or is Thursday or Friday? Because your Friday is coming up very soon. It's either today or Thursday, I think. All right. They sell the sizzle. Yes, sell, not sell. They sell the microwave, not the oven. Because last year I applied to a company that's 20 years old and they claim to be a startup that pays stocks only. Okay, fine. I applied. CEO switch up and didn't want to pay me stocks. Free. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful. You know? Crazy. But, you know, sometimes, like, I don't know, like it depends on where someone's at in their career, because sometimes I'll be like, hey, sometimes you can get paid in experience if necessary. You know, so it's all about strategy at the end of the day, but you're totally right. And the struggle is all right. Let's get to our next question, and then we will continue with this. I'm having so much fun with the chat. I should just have a chat night where we can just talk it up. All right. So let's get to, let me see where we at. We are, yes, here, 6. All right, cool. Let's get some water first. All right, refreshing. See, Mitch, I have not had an energy drink since 2 Fridays ago when I was driving back home. That was my last energy drink. And I think I think it was a Prime, and it was a 12-ounce can. But yep, no energy drinks for me. The only thing I've been drinking now is coffee. Right. So I'm just checking in, Mitch. Just checking in because I know you would ask me like, is that make sure that's not an energy drink, and it's not. It's just water. It's just water. All right. So just letting you know. Let's see. Mitch keeps me accountable. He makes sure I stay on track, and he keeps me accountable. So shout out, another one for Mitch. All right, let's get to our next question of the night.
Another one.
Test automation engineer looking for indications on whether I should be self-employed.
Money.
Thank you for your patronage.
All right, so I now have 4 whole years of experience as a test automation engineer, and the more time passes, the more I'm thinking about being a contractor, mainly seeking for better revenues. Well, I don't know about that. I did work as a developer before working on VR applications using Unity 3D engine. Now, I feel like I have pretty solid knowledge of the test automation domain, and I was wondering where to begin to really upgrade and improve my career and my income. Currently, I'm working as a senior test automation lead in France for a big healthcare company, and my net monthly income is 3,000 pounds, euros, something like that. I don't know. In terms of tech, I worked 3 years plus with Selenium Java in a big French firm, and 1 year with Cypress TypeScript, and created my framework from scratch with a decent result, in my opinion. As a side note, I'm ISTQB certified, both foundation level and automation engineer level. You guys know I absolutely love and adore the ISTQB certification. So I know quite a lot of concerning test practices, and during my current mission, I deeply improved some QA processes to make the team work better. Today, I'm looking for advice on where to begin my searches to become a contractor. I feel like income-wise, it would be good solution for me. Also, I feel like France isn't as good at paying IT and tech resources as other countries. Thus, I'm looking for some platforms where I could evaluate how a profile like mine could be worth. I'm open to criticism, and if you think self-employment isn't a good option despite what I think, I'd also like to know. TLDR. Oh, well, why don't you start with the like? Tell me why people don't start with the TLDR? Why do they have to give me the whole book report, and then at the end they say too long, didn't read? Just put the TLDR in the beginning, all right? 4 years test automation engineer with lead experience, looking for advice concerning how to improve my career and where to begin if I want to be a contractor, especially outside of my country of residence of France. You could have led with that, but here we are. Okay, so I'm going to say that being a self-contractor in QA is not the easiest thing to get through, right? I don't know about France and or Europe in general, but speaking in general for like QA, it's not the easiest thing to freelance because number one, a lot of companies like they don't like the companies that would be looking to freelance QA, they don't necessarily understand QA as well, and they probably can't afford which would be looking to charge for QA. So now I've seen like the free like not freelance but contracting QA where you go through a company where they'll pay decently, but they're paying a lot more because they're paying the contracting company a lot of money too. So what you have to consider when it comes to freelancing is how do you build your clientele, and as a contractor for QA, how many projects can you work on at the same time? So trust me, I am 100% in agreement with finding additional My number one thing is leveraging what you have been doing for a while in order to bring you additional income. So I love the idea of being able to freelance QA and stuff like that. And you can go on sites like maybe Fiverr and Upwork. I mean, I landed someone that I was working with previously. I was coaching previously I helped them get a contract on Upwork, and it was going pretty well. But it's not easy because here's the thing on Upwork, especially like all these like sites that you'll go to like freelance, they're going to pay you a lot less than if you were to get that salaried position. So if you continue your salaried position, but you also go and you moonlight, the term moonlight, you moonlight into doing like, maybe work at nights and stuff like that, doing some additional QA work, some automation work, maybe building some frameworks for a company. You can definitely do that. But the part of like going, it's going to be a lot harder. And is it impossible? Absolutely not. But if you are brought on to work on a contract full time, how many full time contracts can you actually take on? And like, I honestly don't see that many freelance Q engineers. Is it possible? Definitely possible. Is it possible out of France? Maybe. Um, I mean, I just don't see that many freelance Q engineers. Now, if you were to have a company where you have like a contracting company where you place different Q engineers, that's another story. But the idea of one person going out, like for me, I wouldn't. So, and here's what I wouldn't like. And this is from a United States based perspective that I wouldn't want to solely freelance my work as a Q engineer because there's a lot of benefits that come working at like for a company that includes like health insurance. It includes equity. It includes whatever else that they're like you can get, right? Like 401ks, stuff like that, stock options, all that stuff. Where you might think that you're getting paid a little bit more working as a freelance contractor, but all those benefits, there's a price value on that as well, you know. And also as a contractor, it's always a lot easier to get rid of you too. Just throwing that out there. So it's something to consider. But you should definitely leverage everything that you've learned in your like with your experience. You leverage that to. I mean, here's an idea. With all your experience and with you building a framework in Cypress with your VR applications, you could definitely team up with maybe a startup who is building out a game, and use that as a way to contract yourself while continuing your regular job. Because here's the thing: these smaller companies, they're not going to need somebody full time. So you can say, oh, I can spend an additional additional 10, 20 hours a week. Because I believe if you're not working, you might not like this, but if you're not working, if you're not putting in 60 hours a week, I don't think you're working. That's just me. If you're only looking to clock in 40 hours, and that doesn't mean 60 hours at your job, it just means 60 hours of working in general. See me, I probably, I don't even know how many hours I work a week. Like that's including my job, that's including everything like my coaching, that includes YouTube. I can't even, I don't know. I would have to do that calculation. But if you're not putting at least 60, are you really working? Are you really working? All right. So with that being said, you can also create courses. You can mentor, you can coach. There's so many different opportunities that you can do. And I believe that you need to strategize that, put like everything that you've learned in the past, you need to use that to continue to build the future. And there's so many people that you can help. Like I said, you can contract for companies, you can coach people, you can mentor people, you can build frameworks, so many different things, right? So like take everything into consideration. It's not there's no one or the other. It's how can we make it all work together. All right? All right. All right. Let's take a look at the chat real quick. So Mitch says they rather the customer find the problem and hate it than someone inside that should be testing it out before it goes to market. And similar to what I was just saying, right? You can like get a contractor and pay them for the time that they're working on the app if you can't afford like getting a full-time person. It's like it's not good. It's not good. Like I would be hesitant of a company that just pays you in stuff. Yeah, for real, right? For real. Like especially like if you are like if it's a company that's been around for 20 years, like Pluto said, and they just want to pay you in stock. How much is the stock worth? Yeah. Especially exactly. Like there's so like because I don't mind getting paid in like equity and stuff like that, but not only in equity. And it depends how much the stock is worth, So and Pluto says, so this raises the question, what's the difference between an engineer and a developer? So that's a good question. And I think engineer is like a newer, like, so back then there was the term programmer, developer, engineer, right? And the way that I see the engineers, they're more innovative and like they find solutions to problems, while developers slash programmers, they're able to code the solution that you give them. But for me, at least, the engineers, they actually find what the solution is, and they're also able to implement the solution. While a developer and a programmer would be like, okay, the solutions architect or someone else would find what the solution would be, and then they would give it to them. Okay, this is what I need you to implement. While the engineers are like finding what needs to be implemented, or like finding like how it needs to be done and architecting the solution, and then they can also go and do it. So that's how I would break it down. There's probably a much better explanation for that, but that's what you're gonna get for now. But that's a great question. Great question. And story time. Yep. And just curb scratch. Yeah. Oh my God. It was hard. I was like, what? I just heard just like, that's how it sounded, but loud, like loud. And that was my medical job in college. Like I call it right. I work Saturday and Sunday. Or Saturday 8 to 8, Sunday 24 hours. Oof, that's tough. 36 hours in 2 days. And Darcy says, where I see I didn't where's my all right, there. Warehouse job. I knew it was a new shift. I helped with the weekend overnight shift. It was actually fun. Yeah, okay. I didn't think, but yeah, that makes sense. I remember when I was in college, I was working overnight. Like this is when neighborhood Walmarts just came out. And when I was going to college in Orlando, they had just opened one by the campus, and I was working at there overnight. Ooh, it was like it was hard. It was hard. It was hard. Like trying to stay awake overnight. And tech overs, that was normal shift when I worked at Ford. Oh, okay. Mitch, you started the boot camp. See, that's what I call the alley. That's what I call the alley oop. And Pluto says boot camps are sad. That 2-day weekend job I had, it was with another person. He did a boot camp for QA. Actually, I decided data analyst cyber. He's still working at that company 2 years later. All right, where are we at? All right, we're almost there. All right, so he paid 20. Pluto, tell me you're joking. Tell me you're joking. He paid $20,000 for a QA boot camp. Did he really pay $20,000 for a QA bootcamp? Oh my goodness. For me to upskill independently, it was like 1K at most. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like and that's the funny thing. I'll give people like this is what like this is for you to upskill. This is what you could do, right? And it'll be really, really cost effective. But
I appreciate you.
what? Who we got over here? Shout out to you for signing. I love it. I love it. You are awesome. We got Where's Chad in the building. New subscriber to the channel. I appreciate you, Where's Chad. Thank you so much for joining. But Pluto says, yeah, like, and I'll give him like, okay, this if you follow this strategy, you'll get the information and like you'll ramp up really, really quickly. But like I was telling you earlier, a lot of people they would rather go with the hand holding and still not being there yet to that level that they need to be and then they'll have somebody to blame. So that's how I see it. And my Fridays are sadly now Fridays as of April 1st. Is that how they did you on April Fool's Day? They took your early Fridays away. Now you are human with the rest of us. So that's heartbreaking to hear. That's heartbreaking. All right, let's go over and let's do our next question because it is getting late. It is getting late. Oh my goodness. You see, I've been having too much fun with you guys. So let's do this next question. Get some water first. And if you haven't done so, do me a big favor, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Help me on the trek to 1,000 subscribers. All right, so let's get to our next question.
Another one.
Do you like working with Scrum? What are the pros and cons for you? Well, if I didn't like working in Scrum, I probably shouldn't be doing Scrum nights every other weekend for my tech barbarians, as well as hosting a Scrum training in my Patreon this past Saturday evening. Let's put the timer up on the clock. All right. So let's get rid of that. And time. All right, cool. So I love working in Scrum environment because here's why I love working in Scrum. Because you get to see instant progress like within a week to 2 weeks time. And working in Scrum allows you, and this is a pro to Scrum, right? It allows you to see instant feedback on a regular basis so you can know that you're going in the right direction. And the stakeholders that you're building the application for, they're able to also see your progress and give you immediate feedback. So when you ask the question, do you like working with Scrum and the pros and cons? The question is compared to what? What is it compared to? You need to like something, you need to have it's like, do you like pizza? Well, I could just not like pizza, but it could be, do you like pizza compared to ribs? And I'm like, I'll probably take the ribs. Right? Or I'll probably take the steak, you know? Do you like ribs compared to steak? I mean, I do like ribs, but compared to steak, no, I like the steak more, right? So with that being said, you have to compare Scrum to the other software development methods. And if you have Scrum versus, well, I'm not going to use Kanban because although they're different, they are still within the Agile family. But if you have Scrum compared to Waterfall, right? Don't go chasing waterfalls because the waterfall method, it takes a very, very long time for the product to get developed. And then once it finally gets built, and then now you start testing way later, and then it becomes outdated. If you look at how pretty much all applications, let's say applications in the app stores, how they're built, they are built in a Scrum to in an Agile method. They have regular releases and they have if you look at some let's take the Facebook app. If we look at the way that the Facebook app looked 10 years ago compared to the way it looks now, it looks totally different. It might have the same color scheme, but it's totally different in what it can do. YouTube, for instance, when did YouTube come out? Maybe like 2008, possibly. When YouTube, no, actually, I think YouTube came out. I think I posted my first video on YouTube in 2006. It was of a 1996 Honda Accord that my friend had you know, what are they souped up, right? And if you look at the way that YouTube was back then to the way that it is now, like there was no live streaming on YouTube back then. So the iterations that you learn from the customer feedback and you build on top of that, that is one of the best things about Scrum is that like those iterations that you go over and over and over and over again. So and you're able to work within the team, learn from each other, get like give recommendations. On Thursday nights, we have gone over the 12 principles of the Agile Manifesto and how it came about. So those fast iterations, like working software over like processes and documentation. And that's the goal that we have for when we're working in Agile and in Scrum. So what are some cons to Scrum? Well, it can be a bit meeting heavy, so like sometimes we're like, oh, we could be like building the software, but although it can be meeting heavy, those meetings are super important to the progress of the team and to be working coherently. Other cons of, I mean, I'm sure there's cons to anything, but it's not something that I normally focus on. But I guess like when you don't meet your goal, it can be a bit off-putting to you because like for me, for instance, right, I'm a very competitive person, so I'm always looking to meet my goals. And the way that like that Agile is set up, the way that Scrum is set up, it makes you compete against yourself, right? It's tracking like the metrics, what they call the velocity, to say, okay, how did you do the previous sprint? Can you beat what you did the previous sprint? What kind of obstacles are going to be in the place? And it's always looking for 1% growth every single day, So I tend to favor Scrum because it kind of matches my personality. Even when you see me doing like automation, I'm like, okay, let me get a quick win. Let me just make sure it opens up the browser. When I'm like doing software development, and I say, okay, I'm doing a test-driven development because I get that instant feedback loop. So I was saying on a I think on the Techniques tips stream the other day, I was saying like I even adopt the daily stand-ups into my own family so my wife and I can be on the same page on what we're working on. If I need something, if she needs something, and we can work together that way. So it's there's many pros if you can do Scrum the right way. Some people say, oh, like there's a thing that goes like, oh, because you're not doing it the right way. But it's true though. When you don't use a tool properly, then you're going to find a bunch of frustrations with it. Because if I try to use a hammer as a screwdriver, I'm going to say like, oh, this hammer doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work well as a screwdriver, but does it work well for knocking things into place? Why, certainly it does. All right. So hopefully that breakdown of the value of Scrum and why I absolutely adore working with Scrum helps. Okay. Alrighty then. So let's take a look at the chat a little bit, and then we have one more question before we wrap it up. So, because it looks like water doesn't mean it isn't Sprite. Yeah, I just can't. Oh, I don't drink soda. If I like, the most I would drink is like the seltzer water, and I'll mix some of that like what do you call it? Like the Crystal Light packets into that. But I do not drink soda. And so you don't recommend multiple QA contract jobs? I would, if you can handle it. The thing is with QA, it's very hands on. Like for one person doing a bunch of QA contract jobs, if you're doing it directly for a company where you have to like be part of the meeting and stuff like that, if you're doing some type of contract stuff where it's just like I'm just gonna be testing this thing or I'm just gonna be like working very independently, then you can do multiple contracts. But if you're expected to be like actually integrate with the team and stuff like that, then it's going to be hard to do that. So that's what I mean. Like, it just depends how that contract is working. But like, if you have to be like part of the team, it's gonna be impossible. That's why, like, when like during the pandemic and stuff, where people were having like 2, 3 type of tech jobs, I'm like, I just don't see how you're able to handle those multiple meetings, because especially if you're required to be on camera, it's, I don't know, like I would have a hard time managing like that many companies, because the way that things line up, like, and here's the thing with QA, you don't get to control the outcomes and timing of things the way that you might be able to do it as like a software engineer and stuff like that. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. And we got Majestic Logic in the building. What's going on, Majestic Logic? That 3 Science courses. What's going on? Happy to have you here. All right. So, where is Chad? I don't know, but Chad did subscribe to the channel, so shout out to Chad. All right, so we're caught up and we are at our last question of the night before we get up and out of here. So, the last question was a bit of a long one, but we'll do it anyways, all right? So, it says, and before we get to the last question, if you haven't done so yet, do me a big favor. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every single time that we go live. All right? So, let's get to it.
Another one.
Should I get a job I think I will like, but take a $20,000 salary pay cut? Little bit more on myself. I am 24 and I currently work for a medical device company as an automation maintenance facility technician. I don't mind the job, but I'm not too sure if this field is the field I want to stay in for the rest of my life. The commute is about 35 minutes. Coworkers are all right, and there is some growth in the field depending on if I get my associates or bachelor's. I feel like I got really lucky with this job and I don't want to take it for granted, so that's why I'm thinking about it pretty hard. I always like technology, IT, and computer stuff. I wouldn't mind changing careers, but the thing, my current job isn't bad, but I don't like it. It's paying me $68,000 right now, and if I change careers, I would most likely take a $20,000 or maybe even $30,000 pay cut. My question stays the same. Should I change careers and try going into IT? I'm still young, I know, but I do have goals I want to reach in life like any other person. Am I just overthinking things and I should just stick it out with my job and see if it's really something I want to do for the rest of my life, or switch? That is an amazing question. That's an amazing question. So let's start our clock. So when I had just read the title of this article, or of this question, not article, but of this question, I was like, you like stay in tech, keep your 20. But like I normally don't read the whole thing. I get an idea of the question and okay, this is the question we're gonna go with. But here's the thing. You have to, and this is the part of planning and analyzing that I'm talking about. What field do you want to transition to in tech? That's a very important part, because although, so if you're making 68K and you take a $20 to $30,000 pay cut at 24, what is your runway though? Because sometimes you might have to go down a little bit to go up. But if the most that you might make is, let's just throw out a number. Let's say the most you might make is 80K in this position that you don't like. But if you restart at 24 in the tech industry, and let's say you do, I don't know, I don't even know the position, but let's say whatever position in tech. Let's say you start at like 40, 45K, right? And you can, but what's your runway? Because if like, one of the things I always tell people is, because they say, oh, I want to get into QA, I want to get into software development, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, you just need to get your foot in the door and then go from there. So if you want to do QA, like, okay, how, like, but you don't have any QA experience, you might have taken a boot camp and stuff like that, but you don't have the necessary experience. So the question is, all right, how can you gain that experience? Maybe, just maybe, you might have to take a help desk role or a tech support role where you'll be getting paid not the best salary. You're not going to get paid. You might get an hourly job answering phone calls, helping people on the phone. And that's how I got started in tech, right? I've always been very technical. I've always been like I remember I switched my first video card out of a computer around like 10 years old because I wanted to play NBA Live on this old computer that I had. And that's the thing, like, but you need to get your foot in the door. And then once you get your foot in the door, then I'm like, all right, now who can you network with within the company to get to where you want to be? And being that you have that experience, like you have some experience in tech now, it's going to be easier for you to transition to different roles, you know? And one thing I always say is, why at 24 do you have to quit in order to do something else? Like Darcel was saying, Darcel works Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Pluto talked about the hours that he used to work. We see Operation Tech Takeover driving to work at 7 a.m. in the morning, and it was 8 p.m. at night, and he was still at work. So at 24, and like all of us are a lot older, and we're working, we're not complaining. So at 24, you can continue like working your current job and then start learning about tech, and then start getting in the tech field and take both incomes for now. And as your tech income starts to increase, or you get a better offer, where like let's say you have to work 12-hour shifts, right, or 4 10-hour shifts, overnight or something like that. What we could figure that out, or part time, whatever the case may be. But you work that, and as you start to get more experience, you start to grow in there. Then you can start to wean off the other, right? And that way, instead of taking a $20,000 pay cut, you might be making a $40,000 to $50,000 pay increase. And then you're going to want to keep them both, because now your life is going to become dependent on it. You know? So it's, I think we need to get the right strategy, because I'll tell my tech barbarians, like, hey, don't quit your job until you have another one. You know, like, you still have to study, you still have to put in the work. And now, and sometimes like when we're trying to transition into tech and we think we're going to get like that boot camp salary that they tell us, and it's like, oh, well, I remember someone that I'm actually very proud of, but they used to be a teacher, and they had told me that the job offer that they got for QA was less than they were making for a teacher. And I thought, though, I'm like, well, when you first become a teacher, I'm pretty sure what you're making now is not what you were making at the time. So for you to start off with a little bit less than you were making as a teacher, as an entry level QA, which barely exists, that's not that bad of a deal. But if it can't sustain your lifestyle, then now that's a problem. But an option for this person in particular would have been if you were to take, which everything worked out for them perfectly in the end. But let's say I was a person who used to be a teacher, and I wanted to go into a tech field, and I get offered a position where I'm getting paid less than I was at my previous, in my previous career. Well, now the question is, because if I do want to transition, how can I use what I was doing in the past in order to continue making some income while I go into my new adventures? So could that be, all right, so I take this job that I was making less than when I was a teacher, and can I offer like some tutoring to children where I can work with them, or tutoring to adults, who knows, whatever the case may be. But can I offer some tutoring where I can still make up some income while I pursue the new career path that I want? So my thing is, it's strategize, right? It is never one or the other. Like, remember,
Message.
it is never one or the other. It's an and. What can I do? Can I do this and this? Can I pair these things here and maneuver? Can I mold it into what I need it to be? That's how I see it. That is how I see it. But with that, let's wrap that question up for tonight. All right, let's get the clock off. And I want to thank everyone. So I told you 2 earpieces. I forgot what I said that made you say that. But I have a bad memory, Mitch. I have a bad memory. But anyways, thank you guys so much for being here. We went a little bit over because we had so much fun in the chat. Thank you, Pluto. Thank you. I'm technically Tim, one of my tech mercenaries. I gotta get a special tech mercenaries sound. So I'm gonna work on that. See, that's a fact. We tell them again. We aren't computers. Your choices never has to be binary. That's a fact. Yeah, I need a soundbite for that's a fact. That's 100% correct. It's never a if else. It's an and. It's an and. It's not an or. It's an and. All right. So awesome. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Mitch, I'm technically Tim with the fire emojis because he is a tech mercenary. All right. We're going to wrap it up because it is getting late and we still have the show in the morning. We're going to fix everything that went wrong yesterday stream. We're going to continue working on our mobile app development. I will make sure that the stream is just peachy. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. After answering all these questions, I have a question for you.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
I am very, very well entertained. I appreciate you all because you know what? This is the reason that I do this Q&A show every single Tuesday night because I would hate to hear you sound like this.
I hate it here. I want to go home.
And the very, very last thing I want to hear from you is,
I'm in a bind, Nate.
I don't like Nate and I don't want you to be in a bind. All right. So we're going to head out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm technically Tim. I appreciate you. Mitch, I appreciate you. Pluto, I really appreciate you. Operation Tech Takeover. Shout out to Operation Tech Takeover. Always, he works so hard and your hard work is definitely going to pay off. Majestic Logic, thank you for stopping by. I really, really appreciate you. And everyone else who was watching from the clouds, I appreciate you all. And you guys know, as Mitch has pointed out already, you guys already know. You already know yesterday's price is not, I repeat, is not today's price. And today's price is definitely not tomorrow's price. Because as my good friend Marlo would say,
one more thing. Price of the brick going up.
the price of the brick is going up. And lastly, I'm Technically Tim says, peace, coach, and all the engineers winners in the chat. Shout out to all the engineer winners in the chat as well. And on that note, we are out of here. See you guys tomorrow morning and on Thursday night.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again. Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.